Hello, August. How are you? It's Past Podcast. We'll be recording every day for the month of August. Having to remember not to say April is an adjustment since I just did this a couple of months ago. But this is the Pass or the Past Podcast. And we're podcasting each day in August. So check out the show. You might find something new. Anyone that knows me knows one of my favorite numbers due to numerical addiction is 1. And today's episode is coincidentally 111. What's going on, y'all? This is the Pass Podcast. Back at it again. I'm your host, BT. I do want you all to know that these episodes are recorded and uploaded using the Spreaker app. If you want to check that out, Spreaker.com. If you're looking to get into podcasting, I would definitely recommend it as a starting source. The episodes are recorded using the Blue Yeti microphone, and I've made it my goal to make sure I get them out there and kind of make that my branding option or branding tool. So I know I've kind of been doing quite a decent bit of stuff the last couple of days, which has been cool. But I do want to go ahead and jump into a little bit of because I've thought about this on a few occasions, and I've never said this to anyone, so I'll go ahead and point this out and set the record straight. Many of you who do listen to the weekly show may realize or may notice that I do record quite a few episodes and quite a few shows. One show that is not heard about, one sports factor that's not really mentioned often is known as I do soccer, golf, baseball, hockey. I just started to kind of learn a little bit more about it, but still not fine-tuned in it. Mixed martial arts, sports of those sort, you rarely will get stories related to on the podcast. And I'm going to kind of explain and go over with you all why. Hockey, I'll come clean and admit it. Hockey is a very long season sport. In all fairness, and even as anyone who knows me knows, I'm going to tell you all like it is. Even with watching basketball is an 82 game season alone, but it's I don't know if it's that you can miss it and still kind of keep up a little bit. Hockey, if you're behind, you're behind, and you can catch it the best way you can, but most cases, most fans who watch or are dedicated or devoted to it will watch it mainly. They know the home and home matchups. They know the schedule inside and out, and there's no exception to baseball. Baseball, literally, if I'm not mistaken, is 162 games. I'm gonna go ahead and do a fact check because y'all know me. I don't like to give you information and not have my story straight on that. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm looking at hockey now. Alright, so coincidentally enough, and I guess that's showing how much I don't watch it, and I need to track it a little bit more. Hockey is actually 82 games long as well. It just seems like it's longer. Hockey is a sport to me, and I guess this might factor into it. Hockey and baseball both are good sports to watch in person. Watching it through SportsCenter or watching, getting highlights or clips, or even watching actual games, it's not the same feel compared to actually being at the game and watching it. And I've personally been a witness by going to, I went to I was ready to say a Wizards game, a Capitals game a couple of years ago, and actually going to the game, the experience was much more was more worthwhile than watching it through watching it on TV. I understand the scoring system. I understand the point system. And what's ironic about it, two of the oddest sports in the sports community are soccer and hockey. The reason why soccer is different is because I don't know why I want to lose my voice today. Is because it's probably the only sport where the clock counts upward. If you ever watch any Major League Soccer, minor league soccer, Premier League, Serie A, Spanish league, the clock counts upward, and they have what's called extra time or stoppage time. With hockey, clock still counts backwards, but they actually have 3 periods. Most like in the NFL and the NBA, it's normally quarters. Obviously, in baseball, it's innings. But with hockey, it's 3 periods, and after each period, there's intermission. And this is something that I realize is going to an arena football game. When we watch sports on TV, we get a very condensed version of the game because we're just watching it based on them giving play-by-play, and we get multiple commercials. Being at a game, there are so many media timeouts and TV timeouts that you just don't even come close to coming to light the way we would see it. And I'm sorry, I did mention baseball. I want to make sure I don't leave. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mentioned hockey. Let me make sure I get the correct time. Yes. In hockey, I'm sorry, not in hockey. In baseball, it's 162 games. Now, I'm not going to sit and say that, and I made this comment one time. It was kind of a petty comment, but it was also my validity or how I looked at it. In baseball, the first 50 games have an impact, but it depends on what impact it has within your division. You play, it's played over a 6-month period. You're looking at a total of 2,430 games played. And I mean that count, that's where the wear and tear factor comes into play, where a lot of teams, when someone gets injured, sometimes it's either, well, we'll let them sit out for a couple months, or hey, go ahead and put them on the shelf. Ain't no need them, putting any more of their health at risk than where it already is. But baseball is a sport that preferably is viewable on in person. The biggest story with baseball now lately is if you catch a good no-hitter or someone who has a possibility of getting a cycle. I usually don't get any notifications or stories about those from time to time. I will tell you all in advance, and I know it's kind of like a random segue with the normal format of talking about sports, but hockey, you'll probably hear me talk about it, near Stanley Cup. I may mention, who won the Stanley Cup. I believe I mentioned it this year. If I didn't, then it wasn't something I really thought of. If I'm not mistaken, Pittsburgh was the Stanley Cup winner this year. And I know with baseball, last year when baseball came around, I really didn't do much talking about the World Series because the World Series doesn't have as much flair and glitz to it like it used to, and that's just part of the sport. I probably did a little bit of conversation about it, but like horse racing, you won't hear that very often. Golf is kind of it has its spurts, but it's not as, I don't know, it's kind of tough to say it this way, but we're kind of in the post-Tiger Woods era. So now golf doesn't really get as much attention or as much talk as it used to. I mean, you have a lot of this isn't even taken away. This takes nothing away from Tiger. It wasn't just him. It was also the competition, because it literally, ESPN could kind of make a good run at talking about Tiger Woods versus the field. The NBA, we hear it all the time. Golden State versus the field, or Cleveland versus the field. Sports group that I'm in now, someone did a questionnaire talking about, who would be the finals matchup, who do you think will win? Like normally you would say Cleveland, Golden State, and then everybody else. This year, I said it before, I truly don't know if it's Golden State. Golden State can win, but on the East, Cleveland is questionable because we don't know what Kyrie's going to do. And I know I've talked about that before, and we still kind of doing the Kyrie track. But point being, returning back to this topic, I love sports as a whole. But as if any of you have been following the Instagram page, I mainly shared what topics or what sports you'll usually hear me talk about more consistently. Coming up is college football. This will be probably my first year doing college football on a consistent basis because there's so many stories, and it's beneficial to know about who's who in college football for the sake of the NFL draft. And I like it too because it teaches me how to kind of do my research and knowing, what teams are making their mark when it comes to the playoffs. Since the playoff format, I believe, is in year 4, if I'm not mistaken. So there's that factor. But yeah, baseball, watching in person preferably. Hockey, watching in person preferably. Soccer, you can watch on TV and still enjoy it. Obviously, I'm not going to England to watch a game, but even with local soccer, I've watched it in person, and the experience, even if it's a limited amount of people, it's still not a bad experience. So I wanted to share that because I know a lot of people say, well, you're doing a podcast about sports, but why don't you talk about all sports? And I just want to clear the record and just state that and share why. So that's what I'm leaving you all with today. I hope everyone has a safe, productive, and positive Friday. Initially, the Saturday podcast I thought was going to kind of be sports heavy. That did change. I'll kind of be putting more stories behind that and addressing it, but I just wanted to at least get that to the masses before. I like to always give you a leak of what's coming, but just keep tuning in. Thank you all. Trust me, if I never say it enough, I appreciate it. Every download, every play, every listen. It helps. It makes a difference whether you believe it or not. So until next time, thePASS is signing out. Take care. Another episode complete. Another show shared. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out any current shows or previous episodes. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can look me up on the Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter under thePASS Podcast. If you'd like to go to the website, it is available at passpodcast.com, where you can listen to this episode as well as previous episodes. Until next time, y'all take it easy.